Hi there, this is Maria from Bear Claw Creations. I'm going to make a tutorial sort of type video for people who are beginning to paint silicone, and also an explanation video of the process that I go through when I paint my silicone babies. Let me see here. I'm using this new editing app that my son taught me about, so we'll see if I can figure it out. The first step is trimming your pieces. Lots of them will come just fresh out of the mold, so they might have some extra amount of material on the joints. Not this specific kit, but some of them might have like a little tab that's sticking off the toes, or just little pieces, and you can go over it and you can trim it down. I trimmed this down, you can see here, quite a bit, so that it'll fit nicely more in the body. You don't want to go too small because, you know, silicone being as it is, it's really flexible and it'll get pulled out easy of that joint if you don't leave enough of an edge there. That is step one. Step two, we got everybody in the pool. It is our first level of cleaning. Here's the chemicals I use. I use naphtha that's my first one. This is going to break down the releasant that they put in the mold so that these baby parts don't stick and get pulled apart when they pull them out. So I use a little shallow dish here and I pour a little bit of naphtha right in there. Make sure you have gloves on and a respirator mask. These fumes are very unhealthy if you breathe them in. It's best to have a window to open up. And then you would take a pad like this, like green scrubby pad or any other kind of pad. I mean, you want to scrub these babies with this chemical really well. But you have to be careful at the same time because silicone is very fragile. You don't want to scratch it up. So that is the first step. I'm going to finish that step up and then I'll show you guys the next one. Okay, I've rubbed them all down with naphtha. I want to tell you though, I use the green side of the sponge, and make sure that you get in to every little crease and crevice, I mean every toe, every little area, because that's where that releasant for the molds is going to get stuck in. So make sure you scrub all that out. When you are done rubbing down each piece with naphtha, give it a good rinse in hot water. Naphtha is a oily substance, and so the rinse will help with that. And then fill your sink up with nice hot soapy water, Dawn dish soap. Dawn is a degreaser. So letting these guys soak, and then I will use the same sponge after I've rinsed out my dish, rinsed out my sponge. I use the same sponge to rub these guys down again. The Dawn will help get the naphtha off. So the naphtha gets the releaser off, the Dawn gets the naphtha off, and then we'll go from here. I like to use hot water. I don't know if that helps, but to me it does. You can probably see here I have two different projects. I have a repaint and a fresh one that I'm going to be doing. So you may see some paint still on her, and that was just what I couldn't strip off. That's a whole nother video by itself. Alright, I will come back with the next step. After this, you're going to rinse and dry, and then we move on to acetone. That's our next chemical. Okay, we have the kids out of the pool. I always like to joke about that. The big thing about painting silicone is you have to keep them residue free. Fuzzies, hairs, dust, dirt, lint, you name it. Everything wants to stick to silicone. Believe me, it will be a big thing. So what I do is after I rinse them out of the soapy water, I have a whole bunch of these real thin cheesecloths, and they seem to have, I mean, they've worked really well with me. They dry them off nice, and they don't leave any fuzzies or lint or residue. So these were like the best investment I could have gotten at the dollar store. After I get them all dried off, if it's pieces, I made this rack here, and I hang my pieces like this. That's why when they're drying, when I'm painting them, they're not touching anything. Oh, I got cut off the last time there. Remember, this app is new to me. Alright, the next step after they're all dried is acetone. Now, I want to tell you, I've learned from very bad experience You only want to use glass containers for acetone. If you put this into a plastic container like this, it will melt this whole container. It will melt your whole tabletop, see? It will melt your phone case, and it will melt everything. So please, when you're wearing gloves, be careful so you don't melt your gloves. And don't use the orange, yellow, spongy when you do this. Use a paintbrush and rub it on there and let it air dry. It won't melt it'll melt the handle, but it won't melt the bristles of the paintbrush. So please remember, glass. All right, now the next step is I'm going to rub all these pieces down with acetone and let them dry. And that'll be the last step to cleaning and preparing your silicone pieces to paint. I'm going to end this video here, and then I'll do a part 2 when I start painting. Okay, bye-bye.